The Provoke Podcast, brought to you by Provoke Media and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers.
Hello and welcome to the Provoke Media Podcast. I am Diana Marzalek. I am senior reporter with Provoke Media. Today I'm very happy to say we have Maureen Lippe with us. Maureen needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyway, Maureen. Maureen is founder and chairman of Lippe Taylor, the firm you started, I believe, nearly 35 years ago. Am I correct?
Yes, not 35, but close, over 30. We celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, but I think it's a little more.
Okay, well, we can fudge, whatever.
Exactly.
Over 30 years ago. But you also, and what we're here to discuss today, is you have just published, or you're the author of your debut book, called Radical Reinvention. And I just read it, Maureen, and as I mentioned to you before we start, I was so impressed and just touched by what you put in writing. And I wonder if you could start a little bit by giving us the premise of the book, and we can go from there.
Absolutely. And Diana, I'm so glad that you liked it. It's, I have, because the book was just launched, there haven't been that many people who have already read it. So I love hearing that you liked it. So thank you for that. But, during the pandemic, like everybody else, I desperately was trying to keep my family together, my husband healthy, my company, just keep all the balls in the air. But, while Lippe Taylor more than doubled at the time with many agencies who were laying off people and furloughing workers, we kept everybody. We made a conscious decision to do that. But at the same time, I sadly lost my husband and partner of almost 40 years to COVID, and it was brutal. And it was unforeseen. I did not see it coming. So the book really it's a personal memoir. It's my love story with my husband, but it's also a business leadership book. It's probably 70% business and 30% just my personal story, not just of loss, but kind of my life and how I, got to go from editorial to starting an agency, and just the whole journey, which I hope is interesting to people. But I had to get back to the office, and I had to come back strong, and I had to conquer the fear, the trauma, and really the extreme loneliness that I was feeling at the time. It was a very painful journey, but I had to open up my heart. I had to open up my hurt because it was so personal. But if I was going to do a book, I was going to make it personal. It was originally going to be a reinvention, but after losing my husband, I realized this was a radical reinvention. So I changed the title and changed the whole concept of the book. And I wrote it really so my readers, who because I know so many people are suffering post-COVID, not just readers, but it's, my friends, colleagues, everybody is trying to kind of figure out this new world order. But I wanted to write it so people in my position could live a more brave life, and get ready to recover. So it's a book about recovery and how you get there. And I have interviewed over 16 people who are what I call these brazen fire starters, who just tell these incredible stories of loss and how they came back. So it's not just about me. I've got these great, inspiring stories that I think will be very interesting to people who do read the book. And, the other thing is I just had to get back to work. Go on.
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
I was just going to say that one of the things that I do appreciate about the book, and you mentioned this, is that there's all these different levels. So it is a business leadership book, but, I love a memoir. I read it as a memoir. I feel like you were a life coach in there. You bring so much to it on so many different levels that I could see it appealing to different people in different ways.
I hope so, because that was my intention, and all ages, but and men, women, young, mid age, and also older people who are trying to kind of redefine, get over a divorce, or get over, God forbid, the loss of a child or the loss of a spouse. I mean, these are hard times. So hopefully, like you, other people, I hope, will feel the same way. So thank you, Diane, for that.
No, my pleasure. And I like that you hired your mother as your employee.
Yes, she was the first person I hired at Lippe Taylor. But then
That's
my
awesome.
husband came in and my son came in. So family affair, as they say.
Yeah, it's a real family business. And I wonder if that kind of held you through and inspired you even further in these hard times, as you certainly lost your partner, your husband. You can't understate that. But you did have the family business, right? You have your son working there. You built it. You were a leader. I imagine that was somewhat motivating or necessary to sort of firmly put your feet down back in those shoes and do what you know how to do.
Well, yes, of course, having my son here and having Paul, Paul Dyer, who's our
Yes.
CEO, who's one of my best ever business partners and really a good friend, helped me tremendously and put no pressure on me to do projects that maybe I wasn't ready for in the early months
Mm-hmm.
of this journey. But there's nothing like family, but there's nothing like having colleagues who, when you come in, just wrap their arms around you. And we've been together, some of us 20 years. So I'm extremely lucky to be surrounded not only with my family and my son,
Mm-hmm.
but also my family here at Lippe Taylor. And it's why I wanted to come to work. So hopefully, after reading this book, people will walk away with the tools to kind of stand up and face who they want to be, who they were meant to be, and living the life that they really always imagined. I mean, I've been living the life that I imagined. I didn't imagine the loss, but I had to get over it, and I had to get over it fast. I needed to just reimagine myself and transform my life. And hopefully people who read the book will get strategies to get back on their feet, and live the life that they deserve to have. And my purpose, obviously, is to help others who might be suffering or who are lonely, confused about life. God knows it's a very confusing time. And as I said earlier to you, this book for me, was my therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that and going to the office and being in the office, present in the office, were the two things that I think helped me the most.
Yeah, I imagine the writing was very cathartic for you.
It
You mentioned,
was.
yeah, you mentioned that you had a book, and tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the first I've heard of it, that you had a book in the works before you lost your husband, and then it changed with that experience,
Well,
or
I was thinking about it. I hadn't started writing it. I just knew that I had a lot of experience in life, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to write a book? But I figured I would never really get that done. But I had the need because it helped me. It was, as I said, it was so cathartic. So going from a reinvention to a radical reinvention, I think, is what makes this book different. It's for people who feel lost and feel like they need to figure out how to find the life that they want to lead and have always dreamt of leading. They need to get back on their feet. They have to reimagine, they have to reset and really reinvent themselves. So that's really who this is for. And I think that's a lot of people right now in this post-COVID world, as we said earlier.
absolutely. I mean, well, how would you define a radical reinvention versus a reinvention, or what
Oh,
is a radical reinvention?
well, a radical reinvention is really when you've had like a series of setbacks, heartaches, obstacles, leading to, days that feel meaningless, and relationships maybe that have railroaded your life, or your job you feel is in jeopardy, or it's not giving you what you want. It's not giving you the joy and the satisfaction that you thought about during COVID. It's also maybe you feel like your mental wellness and confidence are lost. So really, you really forced to change your behavior and reset and kind of reinvent your life, both personally and professionally, because we're talking a lot about me, personally, and what I went through during this brutal loss. But a lot of this book is business, and how we can succeed in business, and what people need to do to kind of get back on their feet, and not only personally but also professionally. So I would say at least 40% is, maybe 30% is personal and 70% is business. And as I mentioned earlier, it's filled with these great stories, people who were so down and out and lost, who came back, and it tells the story of how they got back on their feet, which I think is really, really helpful.
Were their stories helpful to you? Were they inspirational?
They were so inspiring to me. I learned so much talking to them, and I've met most of them, but not all of them. Their stories were so rich, and hopefully their stories are surprising, but also they're advising that people feel that they can learn from these stories. They kind of coach and the book coaches readers through a dynamic and kind of 8-step reinvention toolkit that I created based on my experience, based on how I lived during my journey. And so this toolkit is tested, and I verified it with therapists, and then all the reinventors, I call them our radical reinventors, all just, taught me so much, and told me about stories that, you couldn't imagine that someone could go from that place in life to where they all became rock stars. They're just very brave and courageous radical reinventors. And I think that their stories will stun people. And also, I did a number of company reinventions as well, and a lot about Lippe Taylor's reinvention, constant sense of reinvention. So yeah, the radical reinventors, I learned so much from them. And I'm hoping that people that read the book will get a lot from them as well, because they come from all different backgrounds, different life experiences, and obviously very different solutions to the problems that they were experiencing.
Absolutely. So the 8-step toolkit, I have a couple questions regarding that. What is the toolkit? Are there literally 8 steps that we can sum up here?
There are. Yeah. Well, the most important thing is review. You've got to review your life. Where are you at? Then the second thing, you have to be clear that you need a recovery. So you need to recover. And the third thing is you have to kind of reawaken. I mean, I reawakened and said, I have to do something. I'm not going to lay low, because I can't. I have a family. I have a company. I have got to pull out of this sense of loss and kind of terror. So also, you have to remember what it is that brings you your joy and your awe, because it's so important that you feel that not only in your work life, but in your personal life. So you also have to kind of, as I said earlier, reimagine, who do I want to be? What will give me the greatest pleasure? What kind of a job, what kind of a company do I want to work? Do I not want to work? And you have to reach really hard, and you have to go deep inside. And sometimes, as I said in the book, it gets bloody, but it's all out there. And then you have to replenish. You've got to replenish your soul. You've got to get into nature. You've got to walk. You've got to enjoy big eyes and see things that maybe we haven't been seeing in the last couple of years, because we've all been tested and tried during COVID. And then the other thing, and the last thing, is rebrand. We all have to kind of, I'm a brand, Diana, you're a brand. I had to rethink my brand. It made me really kind of step up and realize that, suffering is not an option in a situation like this. I've got to get back, and I've got to be vital, and I've got to be true to myself and authentically myself. But I had to look at my brand, my personal brand as well as my professional brand, and it helped me really just kind of step up and get back.
And you mentioned that you had the toolkit vetted by therapists with it. I mean, you came up with it, but this has gone through the official channels of being sanctioned.
Yes, I talked to a number of therapists just to make sure that what I was talking about was satisfying to them, and that they agreed. And some of our reinventors are therapists as well, as you might remember.
Right.
So yes, it's tried and tested, and it certainly was tested by me. So I can certainly attribute my success, and I feel I am a success now. I'm ready to say that in a very prideful way. I found me. I found my purpose. I know where I belong, and I now live with passion, curiosity, the love of my family, and the love of coming back to work, staying busy. I'm very busy these days.
I
Again,
love to
just
hear it.
fighting the loneliness that sometimes just seeps in. You never get over the loss of someone like
Right.
your partner and husband. But all I can hope for is that each day I get a little bit better, and I am a little bit better every single day.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear it, and I hear the strength and sort of fortitude and in your voice, which is great. How
Thank you.
did this process also affect you professionally and affect Lippe Taylor? The whole
I
idea of
think
reinvention.
I I think that, Lippe Taylor for me was such a they were all such warriors with me, and so helpful and full of love. So I I we're all Lippe Taylor is always reinventing. I would say the biggest reinvention and one of the greatest moments in my professional career was when I got a call from somebody I really respect who said, I met this guy. You've got to meet him. His name is Paul Dyer. I said, okay, I'll meet him. Calm down.
Yeah.
I'll meet him. And I met him, and the rest is history. But that was a very, very important day when the two of us came together. So that's been almost 6, 7 years. So we've been reinventing ever since and transforming the agency, and just kind of reorganizing since Paul got here. It was clear to me that if we, as an agency, as Lippe Taylor, if we didn't become a digital, transformative agency, which used data and analytics to develop our strategy and our insights, we would be a dinosaur agency. And those were the things that Paul really excelled at. So his coming into the agency just changed everything. And what is so amazing is that like nobody has left. The people that have been with me for all these years, they're still growing and learning and doing things that they never imagined they'd be doing. And that is so satisfying to me, that I'm still surrounded by these great and talented people. And of course, we've brought in more people, and everyone is getting along really well. The culture held up through COVID, and Paul bought into the culture, and we agreed together that we had a defined culture and we weren't going to change it. So all of that was very helpful for our personal business transformation and reinvention in the last few years. And we're going through a deep transformation right now. I can't talk about it too much, but it's very exciting. And we'll probably be talking about it more in the fall. But we're all deeply involved and committed.
Well, that's not fair. You're teasing me here.
I know. That's exactly what I'm doing. But it's,
you are the press person.
Well, we have to do that. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
But also, Diana, the last 2 years for Lippe Taylor have been, we wouldn't expect this, but they've been really kind of the most creative years and some of the best years of our existence, which is surprising considering we went through COVID and we came out of it. But these 2 years, we've won so many awards. We have just, we've grown so much. We've been able to stabilize and keep our people. We've a very high rate of retention, which is unusual in this industry. But, during COVID, everybody was saying, you've got to let 20% of your people go. You've got to be ready, at least furlough. We did none of that. Paul and I sat down and we just decided, no, we've got our people are first and foremost. And if we want to grow this agency, we have to keep our people. And that paid off hugely for us. It cost us a lot of money in the first couple of months. I would say in the first 3-4 months of COVID, we probably lost $1 million a month, but it paid off because we kept all our people and they just started doing the most extraordinary work. So we're in a really good place. I just hope we keep winning awards and we keep our people happy and excited about the work. Our people are everything,
Absolutely. And it
as
sounds
you
like
well know.
I do well know. What you mentioned about going in and keeping the people, even if it was a loss, and that can be scary. And that mirrors some of what you talked about in the personal aspect of radical reinvention, that, you give up a little security, perhaps. It's some of the same sort of elements that you have to come to grips with, business and personally, if you are going to reinvent and change your life, or
Right,
change your business, or change your
right,
business.
right. And just hope that everybody goes along with it, buys into it, is part of it. Any reinvention or any transformation that Lippe Taylor has gone through, we did it with all our people. They knew
Mm-hmm.
about it. We listened to them. We got so much input from them. It's a very people first company. I know a lot of people say that, but again, you have to listen to your people, and it's so just important to really think about post COVID, really how it's changed. The pandemic has changed really how we look at our employees and how employers have to change their ways. Um, because so many of employees and employers have struggled to produce under difficult circumstances, which caused a lot of us to realize that no longer they could accept the outdated methods of work, which was, in the old days was very transactional. It was a transactional
Mm-hmm.
relationship, with employers treating them as, and this is all in the book, with employers treating them as kind of a means of growth and production rather than as humans. We kind of lost the humanity of the workforce. So that old command and control approach is so outdated and not respected by people today who work in companies. So I think progressive leaders now, they have to treat their employees and their stakeholders and build relationships with team members based on really on acknowledging and fulfilling the need, for obviously compensation, benefits, to have the autonomy and the flexibility, but also companies have to be involved and concerned about the well-being of people, both in the workplace and in their personal lives. I mean, during COVID, we had several therapists on staff for people who needed them, and everybody did, including myself. So, it's a brave new world. And I think that this way of looking at a more human and empathetic leadership is going to result in increased commitment and productivity. And as I keep mentioning, retention, it's so important. So authenticity and treating people the way they want to be treated goes a very long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, courage. It takes a lot of courage.
That it
And
does. And are we there yet? I mean, do you see in your clients and your peers? I mean, is this new form of leadership something that leaders are still having to learn to buy into, or
I think a
how
lot
far
of
are we?
leaders, I think we're hopefully we're getting there, but I don't think we're there yet. But Lippe Taylor, honestly, has always led with humanity and with caring and just always trying to make sure that our people come first and just listening. You have to show your team that they matter. They have to be able to share their voice and their ideas, their wisdom, whatever they're thinking. We have to allow to give them an opinion anytime, even when it's contrary to me or to Paul or to leadership. I think that listening, and I think I've said this a few times, listening is so imperative. It's such an important skill today. And also, this is what inclusion is. If we don't include our people and make them feel like we're listening to them, they're not going to stay. They have so many options. We'll never be able to keep our people.
Right.
So leadership today, we've really got to shape our culture. We've got to kind of get with the program, and we have to connect with our people and create environments where they know that their humanity is respected. And I feel that that's expected today. Are we there yet? I don't know. I talk about in the book something I refer to as leadership, which is, leadership that is so disrespectful and just is all transactional and doesn't really care that there is a human behind just in front of you and the person you're talking to, the humanity, it has to be front and center. And it's our business, particularly, is a very high touch as well as high tech environment. So our people have to come first. There's no question. And values can't be challenged. If you start challenging your values and rethinking your values, you're going to get into trouble because we have to be grounded in our values and our humanity.
Absolutely.
We'll have a much better chance to succeed.
Right. It's well worth the. I mean, you're reaping the benefits and seeing it. What would you do? When would an organization know? Like, what are the signs that someone or something needs a radical reinvention? Are there telltale signs out there?
Oh, when a company does, well, first of all, when people start leaving, first and foremost, when clients start leaving. And if you're listening to your people and listening to your clients, it'll be very clear why they're leaving because the work isn't good and people are leaving because they're not respected. And so, you get into that cycle of fear, and people leave when they feel fear, not only your colleagues and your staff, but also your clients. So when that starts happening, you're ready for a radical reinvention. And it's really radical, obviously. And anybody who is in our business knows right now, business is tough. We have to keep our people and we have to take care of them and we have to keep our clients and keep our clients happy. Can't forget that we have clients. And
No.
if we don't keep them happy, we're going to have to, we won't be keeping our people happy because we'll have to eliminate some. So it's pretty evident when reinvention is necessary. When it becomes radical is when you see that you're financially, you're not where you want to be, and your people are not happy and are leaving or are telling you that things have to change or they will be leaving. So I think the handwriting is on the wall when there's need for a radical reinvention, but it takes courage. And Absolutely. You've got to be brave. It takes a lot of brave work and very difficult conversations with your people and with your clients.
Absolutely. One last very important question is: you have a turtle that a picture of a turtle that pops up throughout the book.
Oh, I know. I love my turtle. What is the
story? Do you have a turtle, or what is the story of the turtle?
I don't presently have a turtle. But I was thinking of what could I put on the cover that would be kind of the motif that would really say to you, radical reinvention. So putting a turtle on wheels because they're so slow was pretty radical. But also, turtles have been around a long time. They've been around longer than dinosaurs. And what's interesting about them is they retract into their shells for very long periods of time when they're threatened. And that's exactly what we do when we're in a dark, scary place or feel like we're threatened or in danger.
Yep.
When life gets tough. So I felt that they just were, a turtle was just the perfect example of what we shouldn't be doing. And that is retracting into our shells and kind of, staying close to ourselves and not coming out and looking for reinvention.
I love that. I was going to say that you have a new Lippe Taylor mascot, but no, because you don't want to be the turtle. So you have to figure out who the anti-turtle is.
We love the turtle, but we love the turtle because he goes in and she goes in and she goes out.
Okay.
So
I love the turtle.
We've got to be careful about retracting when things get rough.
Understood. Well, it is such a pleasure to talk to you, but we cannot end this podcast without telling our audience where to get your book or how to get your book.
Oh, the book is available it's available at Target. It's available at most bookstores. It's available online. And I think the thing that is driving me to sell this book, in addition to hoping that it will really help people, is all the proceeds of the book are going to an organization that I've been involved with for a long time, which is Step Up Women's Network. And it's a glorious, glorious organization that helps young girls in high school really think about college and advancement and mentoring. And I just been involved with it for a very long time. So that's really exciting for me that hopefully if we can sell these damn books, we'll make some money for Step Up. And
that's wonderful.
What a beautiful thing that would be.
Absolutely. I know that mentoring and helping girls and women change their lives is a heartfelt passion of yours. So
yes.
On all fronts, I appreciate your endeavors, including speaking with us today. And I'm glad to hear you doing so well. And let's go sell some books.
Yeah, let's go sell some books. But I'm happy to feel as well as I do. And Diana, thank you so much. I loved talking to you.
You too. Take care.
You've been listening to the Provoke podcast, brought to you by Provoke Media and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers.